Mr. President, I come to the floor today to address several issues. First, I want to talk a little bit about the DISCLOSE Act. Earlier this week, we had 2 votes on whether to end debate on whether to debate the DISCLOSE Act. Now, the DISCLOSE Act is a very simple concept, and it's that folks who make very large donations to the political system disclose who they are, so that the citizens of America can know where that money is coming from. Is it coming from this particular sector or that particular sector? Is a group that is posing as blue skies for a healthier America actually working to create dirty skies for a less healthy America? Is a group that says it's for clean streams actually a group that is trying to weaken the pollution control standards and put more pollution into the streams? Citizens have a right to know where the money is coming from in a public discourse, especially very large contributions. Because right now, what we have are folks who are putting millions of dollars in. Now, I ask you, how many Americans can put $1 million into a campaign? I would tell you, in the world I live in, $100 is a lot of money. People can't connect that there are folks out there who are saying that they're going to put $1 million in. And they certainly can't connect with the folks out there who are saying, I'm going to put $100 million in. I think the Koch brothers have been bragging across this country about how they're going to buy the elections so that they can control where this country heads. That is perhaps the most ill-conceived notion that there is. But at least they are willing to stand up in public and say what their plan is. At least they are willing to say, we are not going to hide and do it secretly. They're going to tell us they're putting their money in. Now, where they put their money and who that money is used to attack, we may not know. And so even in their case, we need the DISCLOSE Act. It is confounding that so many members of this body argued for the fact that disclosure is a disinfectant. So many members of this body argued that citizens have a right to know. So many members of this body said this is fundamental to fair debate in a democracy. And then when the time came to decide whether or not this would happen, they said, oops, I'm benefiting from this a lot, and I guess I'll set that principle aside and not argue for disclosure after all. And so we had 2 votes this week in which the vote did not reach a supermajority because we had individuals in this body who objected to a simple majority vote to get to the bill. So we had to have a supermajority under the arcane rules of this body. And we didn't get that supermajority because we didn't have bipartisan support for debating this issue. And I must say to my colleagues who voted against it, if you believe in the debate in the society, you should at least say, yes, let's debate the bill. Maybe you don't like the bill at the end. Maybe you want to filibuster the bill at the end. But at least we should be discussing it. It is such a huge, huge factor in this nation. There was a time not so long ago when we had the muckraker era, and there was a series of articles that were written about how senators in this body, and I believe it was 20 articles over 20 months, were owned by different companies around this land. And those articles helped the American public understand what was going on in this body, in this very chamber. And the result was a constitutional amendment that shifted from indirect election of senators to direct election to try to free the system in favor of we, the people. Now, when we came to this country, when our ancestors came to this country from overseas, they'd come from a system where wealth and power made all the decisions. They didn't have a voice. And they came to America and they said, we want to do it differently. We want to have a voice. And the first 3 words of the Constitution captured that. We, the people. Not we, the rich and powerful, will write the rules, but we, the people, will decide how we're governed. Well, the Citizens United decision of the Supreme Court, which allows unlimited, secret oceans of money being spent with no identification, goes completely against we, the people. So it's going to be up to this chamber to wrestle with this idea. This is why we should be on the DISCLOSE Act right now. This is why we should be debating the impact. We should be debating the history of Montana. 100 years ago, folks in Montana said, our state is ruled by the Copper Kings, and we're tired of we the rich and powerful setting the rules, and we're going to take it back because we believe in we the people. We believe in our Constitution. And so they changed the rules in their state. And our Supreme Court, just a couple weeks ago, gave them a 100th anniversary present, which was to strike down we the people in Montana with no debate. The Supreme Court, 5 justices said, we don't want to have any of the information about how Montana politics were corrupted by vast pools of money. We don't want to know that history. We don't want to know how the people of that state, exercising their power as a state, reclaim their democracy for the ordinary person. They put their hands over their eyes. They put their hands over their ears, and they said, we summarily decide against this case, against Montana, taking no evidence. That is a dark moment for our Supreme Court. It follows on from the dramatically terrible decision of Citizens United. And we must debate those issues on the floor of this Senate. You know, there are folks here who like to say in the tradition that the Senate is the world's greatest deliberative body. Well, then let's deliberate. Let's not vote against even having a conversation about some of the most monumental issues of our age. So this is a conversation that must continue. We must wrestle with how to honor the very premise at the heart of our Constitution, at the heart of our republic, and not have we the people crossed off out of the Constitution.